All right. I'm calming myself down because I'm excited about talking with the gentleman that we have on the line that is doing the hard work of trying to take down, and I mean that in the most professional of ways, someone that should not be holding the title of U.S. Senator. And who we have with us this morning is Lucas Kunce from the great state of Missouri as a Senate candidate against Josh Hawley. Lucas, good morning and welcome to Choose Views.
Good morning. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Well, good. That goes both ways. Listen, man, I've been following you for a while, and your brand is just it keeps growing and growing and getting bigger and bigger. But I just want you to be able to introduce yourself to our audience and the people that follow us, because as a progressive station, we want to make sure that we're doing everything we can to support progressive candidates throughout the country. And you are definitely one of those folks right now. Tell our audience a little bit about your background and what your fight is right now.
Yeah, thanks, man. I grew up in mid-Missouri, so not too far from y'all, and it's kind of a classic mid-Missouri story. My parents were 19 and 22 when they got married, and they did this little thing where they went kid, and we ran into that paycheck to paycheck lifestyle, and great working class neighborhood though, just in mid-Missouri. And the reason my parents stopped at 4 kids is because when my littlest sister was born, she had a heart condition. She had to be airlifted a couple hours away to the hospital, and she had 3 open heart surgeries. She survived, thank God.
Uh-oh. All right, we got to get Lucas back. Don't know what happened. All right, guys, we're going to keep it moving. Don't know what happened, but we'll get Lucas back in a moment. Had a little technical glitch. So let's see. All right, Henry, we'll get him back on the line. But as Lucas was describing some of his earlier life experiences, he was telling us a little bit about his family and how he had a sibling that had a medical condition that kind of changed the arc of their family and some of the things that they needed to do and how they need to live. He is a Marine veteran, former Marine, and of course now running for this national office of Missouri Senator. I think Henry's getting him back on real quickly. We good? Hey, Lucas, not sure what happened, but welcome back to the show.
I heard a really loud beep, and then it was sayonara, man.
You were talking about your one of your siblings having to be airlifted.
Yeah, my little sister, she was airlifted a couple hours away to the hospital, and she had 3 open heart surgeries, and she made it. But what happens for a family who's kind of on the edge in this country because of how it's been designed by politicians who've sold out to the healthcare industry. I mean, you're just not going to make it if you hit a health disaster like that. And so, my family went bankrupt. I remember watching my parents struggle because they didn't know not just if my little sister was going to survive, but like how our family was going to make it. And, ultimately the reason we made it is not because country club politicians like Josh Hawley on the other side of town were there for us. You know what I mean? We made it because the people in that neighborhood who had no more money than we did, they passed a plate down at my mom's prayer group for us. They brought more food by the house than we could eat, and they just really took care of us. And so for me, it's one of those blessings that I got as a kid to see the strength that everyday people have in our communities and the way we can take care of each other when we have the resources invested in us and when politicians let us make our own decisions. And so for me, I spent a lifetime trying to pay that back. I became a U.S. Marine because some of the guys who helped us out were veterans. I deployed to Iraq. I led a police training team there. I deployed to Afghanistan twice. And just what really ground me up about the whole thing was, I watched our country light trillions of dollars on fire in a war for oil in Iraq, while that neighborhood, that beautiful place, just absolutely fell apart because folks like Josh Hawley were waging war on working class people in this country. And you go back there now, man, it's heartbreaking. The first house I lived in is an empty lot. The one that I signed my Marine Corps papers that everybody bought the food by, it's boarded up to keep the squatters out. And the little store on the corner where my sister and I, used to walk by ourselves when we were 6 and 8 years old, feeling perfectly safe to buy candy or whatever else, that place was shut down because it was robbed so many times it couldn't get insurance anymore. And it's just, it's not right, man. I think people take money from the wrong folks and they just let them strip our communities for parts. And so I'm doing this race because I think we got to fundamentally change who has power in this country. I don't take any money from corporate PACs, no money from federal lobbyists, no money from big pharma executives, none of these people that just don't care about all the rest of us and just want to, stuff our wealth up and send it out to their shareholders.
It's interesting, Lucas, and I got to tell you, your story it's beyond the American story. That's a story that crosses, I have to say this, cultural lines. There are folks that look like me and look like you that can tell that story because it's a story. You know what I mean? And that's the brethren of us saying, hey, wait a minute. My Caucasian brother, Lucas, down in Missouri, has an experience similar to some of the folks on the south side of Chicago or the west side of Chicago that don't look like him, but that experience is there. Their neighborhoods were decimated by policies and people who didn't give a darn about maintaining those communities. And that's what's so exciting about the way you're approaching your campaign. But you raised a little bit of money recently. I mean, with small dollar donations. Talk about that for a minute.
Yeah, man. Well, I should, before we go on, talk about my own neighborhood. So, I grew up next to Lincoln University. It's an HBCU. It's a pretty, actually, heavily black neighborhood. And it's, you see over and over again that, like, mixed neighborhoods and black neighborhoods are getting left behind worse than others, pretty much. And it's just, it's an experience that I don't think it should be that way. It should be the same for everybody. And it should be that we all get lifted up, not left behind. And it's sad because when you mention, everybody getting left behind, man. Why has it got to be that way? Why can't we all be lifted up, And it's
because they're scared of us, Lucas. They're scared of us.
They don't want us to have power, man.
That's what Bobby Kennedy, Dr. King, Malcolm, all were leaning into. That said, and I've said this numbers of times. That's what they were leaning into and had tapped into. That's what the unions. We had a great event yesterday with the labor panel here in Chicago, and that's what we were talking about. That the fear is for all of us to come together and then make it right for everybody that we want to represent. And you're doing that. You're on the ground doing that. And I think that's what's gotten why you've gotten so much attention is because you've tapped into something that a lot of people want to hear in an unfiltered way.
I think you're right. I think that's why you mentioned we raise a lot of money. We do it $30 at a time. That's our average donation. And it's, everyday people in this state, they just they want some power back, man. And we all know that these guys are not going to give it up, right? They're never going to give it up. You can't ask nicely anymore, right? You got to take it from them. And I'm a Marine, man. I'm not a nice guy. I'm not that nice a guy. I'm going to be honest here. I'm going to take it from them. I am going to take it. And and I think that's right. I think we have to take it back. And you mentioned unions. We were at UAW yesterday. I got the earliest ever AFL-CIO endorsement for a challenger in our state because Josh Hawley is so bad on labor, and because my entire message is fundamentally changing who has power. My wife's in a union down at her workplace. I know, man, that's how we get power. That's how we have power. It's organizing and it's coming together, and that's what we're going to do.
You've had a number of union organizations that have backed you. The list is too long to read this morning, and maybe I'll put it out there in another way. But you said one of your great quotes is that you said something along the lines of Josh Hawley was saying he was pro worker, which I think that's kind of a laugh to hear this guy say he's pro worker. But he's also one of the things that's frightening to me about Josh Hawley, and I'm going to call out his wife as well, because of their position on women's reproductive rights. For a guy of that chronological age to have that viewpoint, it's beyond scary. And I don't use that often, but talk about how you see that part of the conversation.
Oh, dude, he's crazy. He is the most extreme member of Congress on this issue, which is there's some people in Congress, man, that is an accomplishment. And he's had to work very hard to be the most extreme person in Congress on this. You saw how a little while ago they banned in vitro fertilization in Alabama. You remember that?
Yep.
Last year? Well, Josh Hawley was cutting edge on this issue. In 2013, he wrote an article where he said that in vitro fertilization, the morning after pill, and any type of contraception that prevents implantation of a fertilized egg is abortion, which of course he has said on the Senate floor is murder, and that it should be treated as such. And it's just like, so birth control is now murder, man? Like, that's crazy. And not only that, but he was one of the few people who voted against protections for pregnant workers. He was the only person that voted against, an anti-Asian hate bill. And he has come out and he has said that we need to rethink the wisdom of no-fault divorces.
Yeah.
Because I guess he thinks that, it's a shame that women can now get out of unsafe and abusive marriages. Like, it's just, it's wild. He's a co-sponsor of a national abortion ban. We got abortion on the ballot here in Missouri this fall, constitutional amendment to protect our reproductive rights. He has already signed on to a national ban that would override the will of Missouri voters, override what y'all got going on in Illinois, override everybody everywhere, right? Like, and you mentioned his wife. She went into the Supreme Court and tried to ban mifepristone nationwide, which is how you get an abortion, at like 3 weeks or something. It's just, it's an all-out assault on our reproductive rights, and it's one of the reasons we really got to take this guy down.
Yeah, we do. I mean, he is. I would say in the Senate, it's probably him that's the most chaos ridden senator from the GOP, and in the House, it's Marjorie Taylor Greene. Now they're at the top of the list, and that they're fighting for, who's going to carry the crown of being the most awful in the House and the Senate. But he definitely on the issue of women's reproductive rights, which as a guy, that's also reproductive rights in conversation for men and for potential fathers. And so this is where I struggle, and I know you do, and we got to take it from him. That this is where this dude is. So I applaud you for being fully versed on this issue and unrelenting in how serious you are about winning this seat. Talk to us a little bit about the fact that we had a person in that seat who was Claire McCaskill. What do you think was the reason that she didn't win, or that Josh won that seat? What took place in Missouri, in your observation, that caused that shift?
What people don't realize, because they know the current Josh Hawley, is how he ran his first election. And so, our former well-respected moderate senator, Jack Danforth, a Republican, he made Josh Hawley. He raised a whole bunch of money, millions and millions of dollars for him, cleared primary fields for him, vouched for him, said that Josh Hawley, he's the next me. He's a moderate, reasonable guy. Josh Hawley was like, I wouldn't say he was moderate, but he was a country club Republican, like lower taxes, suit and tie, talking about like, I don't know, Teddy Roosevelt, whatever. Like, he was just, he was very, very like that and polished. And, in Missouri, if you are a Democrat, the way to win, which is there, I mean, Democrats won 5 out of 6 seats in 2012, and our state auditor won in 2018. You can win as a Democrat. Claire won twice. You kind of got to have a little bit of a damaged candidate on the other side, mm-hmm. and you got to have a little bit of a unique story. And so for Claire, she'd been in for 12 years, so any unique story you have has kind of just, I don't want to say died down, but it's dissipated a little bit. And then he was the next coming of Jack Danforth, as far as everybody knew. But since then, I mean, he is what he is, right? He's the coward of January 6th. He's embarrassing. He's the worst person on reproductive rights, which is on our ballot this fall. He's weird. I mean, he wrote a self-help book titled Manhood. Like, it's crazy, man. Like, he literally did. If your listeners think I'm joking here, no, Josh Hawley actually, instead of doing his Senate job and bringing money back to the state, which he's brought zero back, by the way, which is painful, another hit against him, he spent all his time writing self-help book called Manhood, and where he tells everybody that it would solve America's quote masculinity crisis if they were just more like him. And I mean, that's what he's been doing. He's turned into a creep, and that gives us a real opportunity to win. And that you didn't have before. And I will say this, too, like, the man is afraid. I mean, we started like 14 points down. The last couple polls, we've been 4 out and 5 out. Like, we have closed the gap for, just being on TV like 8 weeks. Because when we introduce me to people, my background, my service, how I grew up, and we remind them why they hate Josh Hawley, which they do, everybody does, it provides a real path to victory, and it's really excited for us. I'm going to tell you what, that man is afraid, too. I don't know if you got time for one more story.
Absolutely.
I could tell you one, but I don't know how much time you got.
No. You go for it, man. We got time.
Dude, I'm telling you, I saw it in his eyes. So, first of all, I'd never met the man before this campaign. And then last summer, we were both at the Missouri State Fair. And so I went up to go say hi to him. And he did his signature Josh Hawley move. Ran away as quick as he could. And I was like, well, all right, there you go. I guess January 6th wasn't a fluke, huh? And it seems, though, that in the year between last year's State Fair and this year's State Fair, he reread his manhood book, like over and over again, because I'm telling you, he came as a whole different man this year. And it's just the craziest thing you've ever seen out of U.S. Senator. And so I'm at the State Fair this year, and I'm talking to this farmer named Wes, and we're talking about beef checkoff programs, big ag, stuff like that. And we start to hear this, like, really loud noise behind me. And I see Wes, like, looking over my shoulder. I turn around, and it's just, like, the normal crowd of people. And I'm like, yeah, all right, I don't know what that is. We go back to talking. And then the noise starts to get louder. And then out of this ruckus, I start to hear, Kunce! Kunce! Has anybody seen Kunce? Is Kunce out of his basement? Is Kunce out of his basement? I'm like, oh, my God, this party's for me, right? I, like, turn around. I'm like, how exciting. And, you get some crazy people out there, I'm not going to lie, who are very excitable. And so I'm like, I wonder who this is going to be. Like, what wacko is going to roll through this crowd? And then sure enough, plowing his way through the crowd, like pushing people out of the way, Josh Hawley appears, like, again, plowing through this crowd, yelling my name, Kunce, Kunce, where's Kunce, our sitting U.S. Senator. It was crazy, man. He was like at the State Fair, Friday Night SmackDown style, like it's WWE, just going nuts. And dude, I'm not kidding you. He's all mic'd up. He's got a camera crew trailing him, like trying to get like a macho scene, I guess, that he can put on Twitter. And just like running up to me, yelling. And I will say this, though. Cutest little Western outfit you have ever seen, man. It was amazing. Like, of course he's got the boots so he can get those extra 3 inches. I mean, this little plaid shirt, pearl snaps. It was amazing. Did you ever see that Barbie movie?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We saw my wife and I saw it.
I'm telling you. Midwestern Ken, he nailed it. Like, hair was all blown out, little frosted tips. It was amazing. You can see the pictures. But it's just like, he's standing there and he's just yapping up at me, yell, 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 yell. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, what the heck? Like, why would a U.S. Senator do something like this? And I'm telling you, it's fear. He's seen the same numbers, and he's grasping right now as he's going down. And so I don't know if any of your listeners want to help us out, but
that's where
LucasKunce.com.
That's where I was headed.
Need some help right now to close this gap.
That's where I was headed next. Is how, and we're going to have you back again, maybe right before the election, to have one last little push.
That'd be great.
But that'd be great. My honor is to give you kind of the last word, Lucas, and let folks know that our listeners all over the country how they can find you and how they can get involved in these last 3+ weeks. Let us know.
Absolutely. I mean, we need money right now. Our message wins. We've closed the gap so much. We are tracking to get there. We just need help staying up and introducing me and my story to folks. If you go to LucasKunce.com, you can donate. It's KUNCE. If you got friends and family in Missouri, please make sure they go vote. Make sure they do the right thing here. Remind them, just what a bad guy Josh Hawley is and how sweet I seem to sound. Whatever works here. Like, we really got to do this thing. I mean, this is a key race. We win this one, and man, we will fundamentally change who's got power in this country. Like, this is big, and for us to be in this position is huge right now. And so, just anything y'all can do, you can go to the website. You can also volunteer there. We do phone banks, we do all sorts of stuff, and we just need all hands on deck on this one.
Absolutely, Louis. It's been a pleasure to have you, man. I feel like I know you. I feel like I know about you, and it's been a joy and an honor to have you with us this morning. We'll try to do this again as we get closer to the election. In the meantime, have a great day today. I know you got a busy weekend with events that you're going to be a part of, so take care, and we'll talk soon, okay?
Appreciate you. Catch you later.
All right. Be well.